Hello everyone. This is OK here, and we're gonna do a very short stream because we might need to come back and finish this off later. We're going to be catching up the games of Bugzilla against Kleerkast. And we'll look at these games from Bugzilla's perspective. So in game one, Bugzilla is black. Having said that, if Kleerkast starts streaming, because the Crazyhouse shield is on, we hope to raid him, because he is oftentimes a winner of the Crazyhouse shield. Okay, so Bugzilla is black, and Kleerkast as white is going for d4 and the fianchetto. Okay, so he plays this a lot, so I'm sure Bugzilla prepared, and we'll see even more reason to think that. From the fact that this whole line takes, so that was attacking the bishop, so white, that's why he took it. Knight here, check. If you take, we get an anchor on h3. So he slides into the corner. Bishop here, lots of pressure on f2. And so he defends f2. It's quite difficult to defend f2. He couldn't push e3 because of the pin. And this is a nice move because it defends and also attacks. It's pretty neat. And then f3, h5. And I'm going to come back in a second. h5, so he's happy to take and open up the h file. So he's happy to sack a piece for a pawn to open up the h file. Knight here, bishop drops back, a4, a6. Sorry, I'm saying a4. Okay, so this whole position so far, actually until a4, actually follows a game between Kleerkast and Jan Lee, and so that's why I can imagine Bugzilla must have seen this game, and so he was probably well prepared. And if you just turn on the engine for a moment, you see this is pretty healthy, a pretty healthy position for black. So let me just back up. So having said it's healthy for black, what should white maybe do instead? So, by the way, I'm going to keep the live the game position on the board on the left and show lines on the main board. So here, Kleerkast plays knight e5. Now I'm going to unsync the main board and show maybe another move in this position is knight to g5. And if we look at the opening explorer, no game found. In fact, in this position here, knight e5 has been played, bishop e3, a3, h3, so 4 different moves, but never knight to g5. So what is the idea of knight to g5? We are threatening to sack on f7. If you play a move like bishop to e7, we just sack here, we sack on f7, and we push f3, and we're actually getting our piece back with the pawn on g4. So that seems reasonable for white. One way of black stopping that is by pushing the bishop instead to d6. So if you try to follow the same line, it wouldn't be nearly so good, because pushing f3 would make g3 very sensitive. So if we were to go f3, bishop at h5, at g4, then knight takes g3 would be quite strong. Having said that, just g4 maybe, but then h2 becomes fairly sensitive apparently. So the dark squares around this white king are a little bit sensitive. So in this situation against bishop to d6, maybe knight here. And so this seems to be playable. Unclear who's better, but it seems to be a playable position for white. And it has never been played before, this new move, knight knight to g5. Okay, so returning to the live game, so I'm going to resync. I'm sorry I can't take challenge. I just saw I got a challenge, and it's so firstly I'm streaming Crazyhouse, and secondly I'm doing commentary. So notice that means I'm not playing myself. I'm commentating on two top class players of this game, who are playing a candidates match to see who will face off against Jasugi99 for the Crazyhouse World Championship. So bishop c5, knight to d3, bishop d4, f3. So as we said, this line is actually good for black. Maybe, so just going to turn engine off so it's a little bit less distracting. Maybe a try here for white is takes, and then rook takes knight, takes, and then defending f2, because obviously you don't want a knight to land on f2, takes, and pick up your queen. That would be lost. So bishop at e3 is interesting. Takes, and then again, knight d4. It's just very important to defend that f2 square. That would threaten a drop on f2 or takes c3. So you'd have to defend this. And just to show some of the difficulties that white is in this position, imagine you did drop a pawn here on f2. You might think you can take it this way, but this is a terrible, terrible mistake, because we can then take on g3, and if he takes with the pawn, we have double check and picking up the queen. Okay, so we clearly can't take with the pawn, so take with the bishop? No, that's even worse. Checkmate in 1. So this just to show some of the complexities. This move here, it's great, it does defend f2 and c3, but it also weakens the back rank. So in this position, already this is an amazing resource. You have to take this knight to keep this square guarded. Then we have a double check, and we don't quite have enough for mate, apparently, because the king could take the knight if we just drop here. So we have to, we grab the queen, and mate will be coming soon. So in this position, okay, that's okay. You don't take with that bishop, you have to take with the other bishop. That's not a problem. So you defend your back rank, and so maybe this would be playable. E6 is a very nice aggressive move, just getting in on f7. You're actually happy to give up the queen because you get this check in, you push the king onto a dark square, you then throw in another check, and then you clear your back rank, and you actually have quite a good attack going here. So this is not bad. It's actually not bad for white, actually giving ideas. We've got knight at f7 ideas, and of course the knight can't be taken because of the pin. And if just simply add f7, we've also got knight c8 check, which is kind of annoying. And then just grab this knight. The point is this check. So you have at least a draw, for example. You never want to go put your king on h7 because of this. I said I was going to keep the main board on the left hand side. I didn't succeed in it. You never want to go here because of rook here check and knight here checkmate. Now I should have, what I meant to do was to always keep the live position on the left hand board, but sorry, I forgot to do that. So I was trying to show, so this is the live position. I was trying to show the line, this is what I meant to do, that instead of going knight here, an interesting idea for white is to take here, and then to defend hard, and not that way, have to defend the other way. Yeah. Okay, so that's that might be a way to play this, interestingly. But okay, in the original game, knight to b5 came, and we'll sync up again. Bishop to b6. So it's aware there could be some sacks and at d6 ideas. It's reinforcing while also keeping an eye on these weak squares. So it looks good. And a4. Okay, so just to say, this whole position was played in Jan Lee against Kleerkast. But here Kleerkast played bishop against Jan Lee. He played this, and he lost very soon thereafter. Knight here to defend g2. He played takes, and very strong move. And we'll see this is a key idea. h4, opening up this h file. Why can't White play g4? Because knight g3 check comes, and this is actually this is going to lead to mate. King g2, rook h2 is checkmate. So that's an idea of the dangerous ideas in the position, and if you don't take it, you're losing your queen. So, and I keep forgetting to put ideas on a separate board, because that's the whole point of using this board on the side. So apologies for that. Okay, so a4, a6. Now, yeah, so here Bugzilla, so against a4, here Bugzilla misses a really good idea, which Jan Lee found in his game. And that concept is h4, to just break open this h file. So let's just look at this position for a second. Yeah, so the idea for black, the method of attack here is h5, h4, and break open that h file. So there's a player called h4_h5, and he would definitely appreciate this position. And yeah, I'm gonna link him to this video after the stream. So after, you might think, okay, but I could take the bishop. We then break open that h file, and you could say I could take a knight. Looks like we've won 2 pieces for just a pawn and opening up the file. Okay. If you did that, already black has mate. Check. If you take it, rook takes, pawn, bishop takes, pawn takes, and bring the queen in. And if king e3, we just bring the queen in again. This is sort of a neat little idea, just to open up the third rank. You have to if you step forward, it's mate in 1, or mate in 2, sorry. And if you take it, then it's mate in 3. So, and just, gosh, I keep forgetting I should be doing this. Yeah. You've got this starting position here. Excellent. So you can see how we're going from the board from the small board on the left to the position on the right. Excellent. So if takes, the reason you don't take the rook is queen h4 check leads to mate even faster, because the king is cut off on the back rank. So just simply pawn at g3, rook at h2 would basically be mate. Let's just see that queen h4. You could try and block with a rook, but you just go pawn here checks, step back, rook at h2, and you delay the mate by 1 because you dropped a rook, but it's still mate. So that's why you take the pawn. The pawn is actually more dangerous to you than the rook, but unfortunately for you, and you can't block either, that's no good, because if you block, then knight drop, the bishop is pinned, knight takes pawn comes with check, then a reveal check, discover check rather, and you're going to take all the blockers and land your queen on f2 with checkmate. Notice the knight cutting off d2. So yeah, so just backing up, this is a very strong attack. h4. Not quite sure how to defend, but certainly, okay, pawn takes knight can be said to be a mistake, because that does lead to mate. But if you don't take the knight, what do? You have to moves like bishop at g1, and you just take it. It's not very pleasant for white. So h4, this key idea, Jan found it in his game. Bugzilla perhaps had seen the game, but he doesn't play a4 yet, but he'll play it later. Okay, a6. So we'll resync the position. a6, the knight drops back. Again, h4 is the move but bishop to d4 was played instead, which isn't bad. White's still doing should be doing quite well. Again, actually, apparently just pawn takes bishop is the thing to do, so maybe black isn't doing so well. So, let me see. Sorry, yeah, black is doing well, but h4 means he's doing even better. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so knight takes d5. Okay, so white, notice, has no pieces in hand, so that's why taking the bishop looks reasonable. That he doesn't really have that many moves. There's nowhere to put his bishop. It's very difficult to see how to improve white's position, which is why he gets a bit desperate and just sacks his knight for a pawn. And here, actually, this was taken with the pawn, but I'm going to unsync and show you another line. Why not take with the queen? Now, usually you don't want to take with the queen. You don't want to bring your queen into the center of the board in Crazyhouse unless it has a real purpose. And this is a sort of position where you think that this queen can get harassed in the center of the board. I mean, something as simple as e4, for example, is harassing the queen and then taking this piece. Yeah, so apparently this is fine. Oh, okay, so you don't want to do e4 because we could just take it and then take the queen, and apparently black's got good initiative in that position, so that's not a good idea. But why not just at e4? And I didn't know myself why, but apparently h4 is still strong, which is just stunning. Knight takes g3 is another way of playing this. H takes g3 and then h4, but so that's the idea. So h4 and knight takes g3 in some order is still crushing. So h4, why can't we just grab this queen? Because then h takes g3, and we have these. We're crashing through these dark squares in white's position. So really surprising. Black gives away a whole queen and is still completely crushing. The move which I was analysing after queen takes knight was simply pawn takes bishop, and that just leads to a very that's actually a terrible mistake, because it leads to a very easy mate and very pretty mate for black, which is take here, drop a new knight on e3. We have these two knights in power pose controlling all of these squares, and you can take off that knight, but wherever the king goes, notice those two squares are blocked off, so it must go to a light square. Wherever it goes, bishop at g2 is mate. Actually, if it goes here, bishop at g2 is mate. Actually, if it goes king takes knight, it's not bishop to g2, but a double check from the rook and pawn, which is checkmate. You don't want to go bishop g2 here, because then the king is running a little more. Although that apparently is also mate eventually. But very far from obvious. You have to take here, take all the blockers, something happens. So the prettiest one is king takes knight, double check and mate. Notice the knight is keeping the king on the h file. So what's all this to say? This is to say that queen takes knight apparently was quite nice, but pretty hard to be willing to give up your whole queen because of this. So pretty hard to see that this was quite as lethal as it was. So if you just keep on ignoring, the problem is knight at f2 takes king here. You're taking the queen with check if you want it, but apparently even stronger is taking this pawn, king f1 and rook at g1, just as an example. Okay, so let's get back to the live position, and what was played in the game was pawn takes knight. Okay, pawn takes bishop makes sense, and knight takes g3 was played. Actually, a really interesting move here was knight takes g3 was played, but so I'll put that on the little board. But a really interesting move here was actually just taking this pawn, and so now we've still got knight takes g3 in the air, Okay, if we're super defensive with at f2, what's wrong with that? Because I hadn't analyzed just defending with at f2. Apparently at f3 is the problem. So at f3, why can't we just take it? Because then we take on f2. And why can't we just take it? Because then we take on g3. Oops, okay, here. Why can't we just sidestep? Because then we're losing the queen with check. So that's that. So okay, so it's not a forced mate, but this is very bad. So we're just taking all the pieces basically. You can try and take here, but we'll just take all the pieces basically, and mate is coming soon. Look, white only has 3 pieces on the board and lots in hand, but black's pieces are going to stream and find a mate very soon. Hi there, Gulfraw. Just making sure that, so this stream I've trialing a new feature with showing the, don't give me challenges, that's really annoying. We're trying to do commentary here. We're trying a new feature with showing the live board on the left and showing the Twitch chat. So if people want to jump in and chat, you're going to be featured on the stream. So Bugzilla in game 1, but this is going to be a short stream, so I might only do a couple of games, and we'll come back and finish this stream another time because I need to go in 15 minutes. So knight takes g3 is played, but as I said, this is really interesting. Because you have all these threats on f2 and knight takes g3, and I was thinking at f2 maybe that was a way of defending. The natural way of defending is rook takes knight. After all, that knight is hanging, and that's why he went knight takes g3, right? Just go desperado, this knight's hanging anyway. But okay, so here's the really beautiful move, which I had analyzed earlier. This is really, really nice. At f3. And the point is, you're blocking the rook's defense of f2, so now knight at f2 is a threat, picking up the queen. And picking up the queen is a problem because the white king is not safe. So you saw how black losing the queen earlier was no big deal because black had the initiative and black had the attack, so losing a whole queen was no big deal. But white losing a queen is a big deal because he'll get mated. So f3 is really beautiful because it both threatens knight at f2, but it also threatens takes g2. And how do you defend both this square and this square? And logically, the only piece that could defend it would be something like a queen. But this isn't even among the best moves. But probably takes would be natural. Takes back. I'm not seeing how. So the engine is suggesting bishop at e4. Why can't we just block? Oh, and take the defender is the idea. Okay, that's pretty neat actually. Take the defender, and it's pretty hard to defend these 2 squares. White just doesn't have an attack. Black king is safe, and so yeah, that's a okay. Is there another way of approaching this? A knight f2 apparently immediately is strong. But so I think the idea is just trading off all white's defenders around his king, and even if you lose a piece doing so, you have the initiative, and the h-file is opening. So lots of ideas. So okay, coming back to the actual game, knight takes g3 was played, and takes back, and white is actually back in it. And Kleerkast finds a really good defensive move in this position at h6. It's really beautiful. It blocks the h-file. If you ever take this, you're just blocking up your whole attack. And if you take with the rook, you just take the rook. So this is a really nice defensive resource. And it has attacking ideas as well of creating a weakness on g7. So a beautiful defensive resource with attacking intent as well. So huge kudos to Kleerkast for that. At f4, a really nice move from Bugzilla, blocking off the bishop's defense of this blocker. And again, a really good move from Kleerkast with knight at f5. So threatening knight takes g7, but also keeping an eye on g3. And this is suddenly a difficult position for Bugzilla to play accurately. He played bishop takes pawn, which wasn't the best, as we'll see in the game, because then Kleerkast was able to take this f4 with the bishop, and that undermines the defense of Bugzilla's bishop. So knight takes bishop, and Kleerkast is doing very well indeed. So what to play instead of bishop takes pawn? I'm going to show you another line. Hi there, our Miches. Thanks for the invites, but yeah, we're not doing anything like that. So what instead he could have played was queen g5. Now, what's the idea of queen g5? It's a bold old move. Okay, so the idea is knight takes g7 doesn't really work because you can take it. And taking back would be a terrible blunder because knight f2 is a double check, so we can't just grab the rook. So king g1 is forced, you have to move the king, and pawn at h2 is mate. So that's the first thing. So queen g5 is actually a great defender of g7 because you can't take back with this pawn or there's a double checkmate. Okay, so another idea is you could say, well, why can't we take the free bishop? Yeah, that doesn't quite work because then you take on h3 and we have a huge attack down the h-file and knight f2 coming, and I thought this is going to be really good for black, but apparently there are still defensive resources with bishop at h4. But maybe black is still doing quite nicely. But maybe that would require more analysis to be sure. And then the move that happened in the game, bishop takes f4, that doesn't work because it cuts off the defense of the knight and the queen will just picks up this knight. And so maybe the best try, but maybe not, for white, and maybe white is doing fine here, is rook takes, knight takes, then you throw away this this knight, takes back, and of course you can't take the queen because of the pin, but then just bishop takes knight, rook takes pawn, takes, and then you block on the h-file. Knight f5, really beautiful move to just take on g3, take on here. But simply rook at g8 and takes here actually seems to defend everything pretty nicely. So unclear. So maybe at the end of the day, maybe bishop takes f4 was the best move. It would require some very deep analysis. So okay, the point is that queen g5 is a really nice move here from black. But what was played in the game, and so resyncing up with the live game, is bishop takes e5. That allows bishop takes, knight takes, and Kleerkast taking control. Looks threatening, but black doesn't have quite enough. So rook takes knight. He could have taken on g2, but he just sidesteps, and the king is actually quite safe. So white is doing very well here. Knight at f1 looks threatening, but you can actually just double take. The queen is defending everything. And you can't mess around here with, say, rook at h3 or something like this, because something like rook at h3, you just take it, and you have no time to take back because it's black who is getting mated here. I was thinking knight takes g7. The engine has all kinds of crazy ideas, like rook at f8, which is pretty hard to see. The point is, if rook takes, knight takes g7, we have to come up a new knight on f5, and we're going to just torture you with knights here. King here, a new knight on g4, defending this knight, so all the knights are defended. They come in pairs. King to g5, and pawn at f4 is checkmate. But okay, I promised I'd show you lines in a separate yeah, and I should be keeping them to the main position. So that's the live position. My point is you can't go crazy as black. White could just take, and he does have mate. Rook at f8, so why not king to... Okay, so I'm going to keep... This is what happened in the game. Rook at h5, and I'm going to unsync and show you why rook at h3 doesn't work, I mean, there's this crazy rook at f8, but there are other ways of mating. And hi there, Gerald is better. Thanks for joining. Yeah, we're doing some deep analysis, and it looks like it's just going to be deep analysis of just one game. So what's the mate here? Just take here and take here. It's going to be mate. So not very interesting actually. If you take with the king, that's clearly not going to work. It's a simple back rank mate. If you go here, it's a back rank mate. Here, if you step up, it's a very nice back rank mate with rook at h6, push the king back, and back rank mate. So anyway, the point of all this was just to say that black can't go all in because he has problems at home. So rook at h5 is a way of defending as well as attacking at the same time. So you block, keep the attack going. You have to keep the check going. Watch out! This is a scholar's mate threat. Okay, so you block off the f file at d7. Just to say here, you can't really sidestep because otherwise this is coming, and knight at h7 needs to mate. If you take that knight, then knight g6 and knight here, and oof. This is really sneaky. If you take with the rook, queen at f8. If you take with the bishop, that queen suddenly comes alive. And if you don't take it, then knight takes bishop is mating you. You can't take because queen at g7, and if you sidestep, then oh, that's very nice. Knight here check, just stopping you from running out. And if you take it, then queen at f7. Okay, this is, I should have kept the main position on the board. I sometimes forget to do that. Okay, so this is why black had to give up the queen. And Kleerkast and Bugzilla now grabs the knight on h4. And now Kleerkast has mate, and he is not going to mess up a mate like this. You just simply sack the queen. He has enough pieces in hand to find the mate. So takes, bring the knight back with check. Just keep check and you will surely find a mate. In the game he played queen at f7, rook here, and this classic queen and rook teaming up. Actually in this position, bishop at c5. Bugzilla resigned because he saw this is coming. There are other mates, of course. So another mate is bishop at d7. This is slightly more proper because it's a good idea when you play Crazyhouse. Try and keep the queen for the final sequence, as it were. When you see, if you don't see mate, don't drop the queen just yet. Often it's quite good to keep the queen in hand for the final mate, like this, for example. So the reason for that is if you drop the queen too early, and the king might run away, and suddenly the queen is out of position to deliver mate. So sometimes it's good to save up that queen for so this just to say, of course, you can't take the knight because otherwise it's mate in one with queen here. So that's why you have to run king c5. Yeah, if you take the knight here, then queen at d4 now is mate. Okay, notice the position. Two diagonals, three apart like this is a very good pattern because the two diagonals cover a lot of squares, and as we saw earlier, two knights in this position, three apart, is also like a power pose. So any two diagonals or any two knights three apart is like a power pose. It covers a whole little square of squares. Okay, so great comeback from Kleerkast. What did black miss? What did Bugzilla miss? Maybe queen g5 here was a good try. Taking here was a lot more convincing, but you had to see, you had to see at f3, and then this was also very convincing from black. h4 many times was missed by black. So lots of little moments where Bugzilla might have done a little bit better. Here again, h4 directly, and going all the way back, maybe an interesting idea for Kleerkast to avoid the troubles he gets into in this line which he's played against Janli. Maybe an interesting idea for him, if I were giving tips, is try knight g5. maybe it's a good try. Maybe his opponents don't watch my streams, and maybe Kleerkast does. So that would be my tip to Kleerkast if he's playing an opponent who doesn't watch my streams. Try out knight g5. It's never been played before, and maybe it's okay. So that's my novelty tip. Okay, so it turns out we've only had time to analyze one game. So tune in next time for games 2 to 10 of Bugzilla against Kleerkast. It's been a fun half an hour stream. We only managed to get through one game, but it was a very interesting game where Kleerkast came back and won against Bugzilla despite not the best opening. And as I said, maybe the real beautiful move that was missed, which is a move that was found by Jan Li in is just playing h4 just a little bit earlier, and black is just crashing through, and it's very difficult for white to defend this position. Okay, so thanks everyone for watching. I'm gonna see if there's someone else streaming whom I can raid. King's Crusher is streaming, I'm streaming. No one else on Lichess at this early hour. Let's see if there's anyone else on my Twitch followers. There's Thebol building Lichess, but that's not really a chess stream. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to raid some analysis on the Dutch chess championships, and since Kleerkast is Dutch, I think some people might enjoy that as well. So, and the Twitch channel is called Shuck Bond, so check it out. Not many people know about it, so I'll send you over there, and come back next time for games 2 to 10 of Bugzilla against Kleerkast. Thanks everyone for watching.